Well, hey YouTube, it's PD Two Finger, and I just wanted to talk about my old hobby. My old hobby was Estes model rockets. Now, towards the end of that, I had a decent collection of model rockets. I mean, I didn't have a real lot. Um, I remember buying the skill level 5 Saturn 5 kit at a garage sale that was missing a bunch of pieces and throwing it away. I remember my Maxi Alpha 3, my Phoenix missile. Maxi Alpha 3 is a great rocket. It's got plastic fins. It's very durable. It's easy to build. It looks fantastic. It comes with a pre-colored white tube, red fins, and a red nose cone, and then it's got red, white, and blue decals. So you basically you glue it together, which is not difficult. That's that's their best kit, the best one that I ever built as far as making sense, not being challenging, being fairly easy to build, and then with the exception of just doing the water slides and getting those on properly. And I did. Mine turned out really good. So that was the rocket that I used to really love to launch. I had a Mars lander. The Mars lander was a skill level 5. Let's go over and take a look. I used to spend a lot of time staring at the Estes catalog. Now the Mars lander. Look at this kit, Donna. Look at this Mars lander.
That's insane.
And it isn't it cool looking though?
Yeah.
I mean, isn't that just like something you'd want to have sitting on your desk? These things actually worked. They shock absorbed. It was supposed to come down and land, and this it would land
Oh, right,
flat.
like on that. Uh-huh.
And I don't think I ever flew it. I built it, and it was so cool looking. I didn't want to risk. Like, I mean, look at that thing. Look at it. It looks like a prop from a science fiction, from Lost in Space or something. It's just absolutely beautiful. Now, I believe mine had holes in here, like small, medium, and large holes for weight reduction. This is not the Estes. This is low power. Yeah, Semrock Astronautics. But this was my, like, if you ever got to go in my bedroom and see my lair, which was, it was really something. I don't want to be bragging, but it was covered in speakers. I had a huge array of pedals on the floor with a mixer, and then all kinds of different colored lights. Well, let's see. Do we? Okay, maybe I'm wrong about the holes. 10x Mars lander launch. That is something I have to see. 3x. Now, let's see. Big Red Max. I had I had some really large. Oh my God! Look at this 10x.
That was insane.
Not forget it down.
Look at it coming down. Oh,
Nose cone hits.
Beautiful, beautiful sight. Okay, that was the nose cone that came down. Look at. Oh, what a beautiful sight.
There's the ground.
Here it comes. Here it comes. Watch the things flex. See? See him flex? Now, I'm never going to be able to find. The particular one. See, I had this. I had the Saturn V, which I never built. It was missing parts. I had a Dude. That was recently. We had a Dude.
Oh.
I never had a mongoose.
10 years ago.
We had a tall boy. Comanche. It may have been a big red Max. There's the big red Max. I never had an Alpha. Oh, Mean Machine. I had two Mean Machines, if that's the name of the. I had two of them. 80 inches tall. Yeah, ridiculously. Are you seeing this? Do you remember those giant rockets that were leaning? They were like all leaning up against my hutch in my bedroom. On the right side, like if you came in and looked on the corner, it was just full of rockets and there was two of them that went up to the ceiling.
That was one of them.
Yeah. So that was my hobby, and I had a collection of these rockets. A lot of them I'm forgetting. The Phoenix missile, we did payloads with explosives in it. My brother did one where he had a butane canister and then he had a bullet, and it was supposed to, there was a nail on these cardboard rings centered that was supposed to hit this bullet with the ejection charge, and the bullet was supposed to rupture the butane, and it did not work. But yeah, I had a Mars lander. I never had the V2. I had those Mean Machines. I had a pair of them. They were different colors. One was blue and white, and the other red and black, I think. And then I had the Maxi Alpha 3. My brother joined the Navy and got a flight suit in my size that had Velcro on it. And it was just the coolest thing. The material it was made out of was very, like if you've seen what they wear in Top Gun, what they're wearing, that's what I had. I had that suit. And I used to load up, and it was covered in pockets and pouches, and I would load up the whole launch pad and everything and put the rocket strapped on my back and ride my Mongoose BMX bike with this flight suit on, ride it up to the park, set up my launch stuff, and launch the rockets. And I remember one time I was riding, and it was windy, and I was just frustrated. I got about halfway there and pulled into the subdivision where there was a hill. Forgive me if you've heard the story. So I set the stuff up, and I didn't have any clamps. I used to bring with these. They were sections of a coat hanger. If you cut the end of a coat hanger off, and what I would do is I would put those in the ground. I would push them into the dirt. Over each one of the three legs of the launch there was a launch. What would you call that? A launch base.
Pad.
Launch pad assembly. Yeah, it was. There was three legs that fit together on a central base, and then there was a metal round piece of sheet metal, and then the launch rod, and then you would have the controller with a battery. So the idea of clamping down, especially if you have got a larger rocket or when it's windy, of putting some stakes in to clamp down the legs of your launch base, is smart. And that's something that I realized and thought of and made them, and then did not bring them with that day. Like, I had just made them. It was like, and I had launched a bunch of times. One of our neighbors, I had told him all about this guy that I used to ride my bike, and he would be in the garage drinking beer. Him and his wife kind of went through a thing and ended up divorcing. So he was out in the garage all the time, and I used to go over there and talk to this guy. He was cool. He was a cool guy. Mr. Buck. So he took me and Bjorn. He wanted to see it, and I asked my parents if it was all right if he took us up there. My dad didn't care about it. He wouldn't have anything to do. He hated that I spent my money on that stuff. My dad really didn't like that. So my dad's thing was hockey and motorcycles. So this Mr. Buck drove us up there, and we launched. I remember riding up there in his. He had a Lincoln Continental, and just being like, I couldn't believe like the ride. This big boat, American car, how it was just kind of lumbering along, like all this room. It was like you were sitting in someone's living room in the cockpit of this car. Me and my little brother and Mr. Buck, and just had a great time launching these rockets. I did one at school. I did a Maxi Alpha 3 launch at school, which I could not get it going. And they started heckling me, and it was in science class. I had asked the teacher if I could bring it in and we could launch this one day. So I said, I'm not going to do it. Go ahead, and it's going to take me about 5 minutes to tear this down. You can either stand here and wait, or you can go in and I'll be right behind you. So they started walking up, and I went and put a new igniter in it and hit it and successfully launched it. And if you've never heard a rocket launch, the sound that these things make, there's no other sound like it. And as you go further, there's like a 1/2 A engine. Then there's an A engine. And there's the B, the C, and the D engine. When you get into the C engines and the D is like a D battery. It's a little bit thicker, a little bit taller. Those are significant. They're not cheap, but they will put something up into the sky very, very high. I mean, depending on the weight of what you're launching. If you're launching like the Maxi Alpha 3, it was kind of a heavier rocket, and it was 3 feet tall, and I had a plastic nose cone, and I had a plastic fin carriage, an engine mount, and all that. So it provided a really dramatic liftoff. It didn't just go, choo. It was kind of slow, and then it would pick up and get a decent amount of air. Maxi Alpha 3 was great because even with a D engine in it, it was a very dramatic, very loud event, and it didn't go so high where you didn't have to worry about losing the rocket, because that's the thing. When you build these rockets and you're a kid, you're like, it says, oh, well, for the first flight, do an A engine in it. You're like, man, I'm putting a C engine, C motor in it, a lot more powerful. And then the thing just, it goes off like a bullet out of a gun, and then you can't see it. it's gone. And you never see anything come down because you shot it so high in the sky. By the time the parachute came out, it already maybe it had angled a little bit. I mean, you can never tell with these things what they're going to do, and that's part of the thrill. Is so you really have to read their safety instructions and how they advise you to do it. You really have to know weather conditions, when it's not good, it's never good. The ideal condition to launch a rocket is no wind and in the hugest area you can with as many people as you can get to put eyes on it and run and go and maybe grab it as it's coming down rather than have the thing hit the ground or and break off one of the fins or get stuck in a tree. You know, like you could launch it in your neighborhood, but it's going to end up in a tree, on a high tension line, or a telephone pole, or on somebody's roof. So again, really looking at it now, like if I was going to do rockets again, I would be either reloading or making my own motors with PVC. You can get stump remover, potassium nitrate, and mix that with like powdered sugar. And you use bentonite clay, which is the cheap brand of kitty litter pellets. You grind it into a powder, and you get a dowel and some PVC, or you even better a metal, like a 3/16 or some 5/16, some kind of like a big screw with a big head on it, and you cut the thread off of it and use that as your what do you call that thing where you to tamp it down, your reamer or whatever you call it. So you put the clay in first, then you pour in X amount of sugar, then you tamp it down, and then you mix the sugar / potassium nitrate mixture, because the sugar is the fuel, the potassium nitrate just is your oxidizer. It just provides oxygen. And you mix that with some baking soda, and that will give you a reduced burn. And then you put a little bit, it's clay tamped down, and then the regular fuel mixture tamped down, and then some of that slow stuff, just a little bit, and then maybe a little bit more of the full power stuff, and then just a little bit more of the clay to seal it. You tamp that all down in there. And what'll happen is it'll launch, it'll hit its apogee. That's when the fuel runs out, and the rocket will slow down and start turning. And that whole time, that baking soda mixture will slowly burn, and then there's a little bit more full fuel mixture that's designed to shoot out the other end, blow the clay end out, and that will push out. That's your ejection charge that will push out. The nose cone comes off, and then there's a parachute. So considering all that, like some of them have streamer, which a streamer is just a piece of crepe paper. Like if you would go to a baby shower or a wedding and they would have that stuff decorated. It's just like that, and it would be like an 18-inch long strip about an inch wide of a streamer. And that's going to serve as a parachute. It's going to slow it down. So lighter rockets or rockets with plastic fins, that streamer is going to give you an advantage over the parachute, because the parachute is going to carry, like if you have wind, you're going to end up running, or it's going to land 2 miles away, you know. So it's a really fun, really expensive, complicated hobby. And my advice to you, if you've never, or if you've only seen it happen once or twice, look up on the internet. Go on your Google and just type in model rocketry and see, do you have a rocket club in your area, and are they doing launches? Because Donna and I have attended a few of these things, and we went to what is known as a high-powered rocket launch at the Bong Recreation Area, which is on 294 if you're heading north out of Chicago into Milwaukee. You'll see this Bong Recreation Area, and they had a high-powered model rocket launch. We went up there. We brought picnic lunch stuff, a cooler full of beer, and a video camera. And this was in the 90s. We pulled in, and I got out of the car, and I heard the guy on the PA say, "We got a 1/6 scale V2 rocket." Now, the V2, that's my favorite rocket. It's the one that the Germans used to completely obliterate London with. This is a V2. It's a fat-looking German weapon of mass destruction. There's the Saturn V. Developed by Dr. Werner von Braun, it's the first liquid-fueled rocket that was successful. Oh, there's the Big Bertha. I remember that. Oh, I had this too. I had the Astrocam 110. It was a 110, and it would take these pictures. It would take a photograph. That picture was exactly what they told you not to do. Launch it in your neighborhood. But we get out of the car and I hear V2 and I ran over there just to see it fall off the launch pad and start sputtering in a circle around like this V2. It was going and then it fell over, and the guy on the PA goes, "Land shark," and everyone started running away. And it's going around in a circle like, "Hey Mo, hey Mo." It's going around like shooting smoke rings out of the back. It was the funniest thing, that land shark. I could not stop laughing. And then these guys had it on their shoulder, and they were walking back and they were all like with their heads down, all pissed. And I go, "Hey, are you going to launch that again today?" And the guy just glared at me. I didn't realize it had burned one of the fins, like it had damaged, like it was. This is not like when you get into the high-powered model rocketry where you have to be certified and all that. This is not like kids stuff. This is really, really expensive. And they're unbelievably loud. Like, they have to have clearance with the FAA for these high-power launches because they don't want any of these things go up higher than a plane. They go up almost into space, or some of them go into space, I think. Like I know that this group of amateur astronomy, amateur rocket enthusiasts, they sent one up into space a couple of years ago. So you might not see that, but what you're going to see is it's just really fun. Definitely, highly, highly recommended. Find out when they do this stuff and head over there with your camera. The people are super friendly. Bring a picnic lunch, bring a 12-pack of beer, whatever you're into. You go around and meet these people for a really fantastic way to spend a Saturday afternoon. As far as the rocketry thing goes, like I was saying, you can look. There's a guy who called himself the King of Random. He died paragliding in a bizarre fluke gust of wind. Yeah, freak accident. This gust of wind took him out. And he was 38 years old, I believe, when he passed. But his YouTube channel is still around, and there's guys that will show you how to make your own sugar rockets, how to reload the motors, how to do it for 50 cents a piece. Because we're talking that these motors are like $25, $26 a piece for one launch. And it's generally safe to reload this stuff. Build your own. You build your own rockets as well. They show you how to put one together, very detailed. But I mean, there's not much to it. One of the considerations is weight, obviously, and like I said, it's a very complicated. It's kind of a complicated thing. Like they show about designing your own rocket and figuring out the center of mass, attaching a string to it, and flying it around your head to see if it's stable. I never did anything like that. I always just carefully assembled my stuff, and I would take it out and launch it. And I did use lower power motors for the initial launches. Once you lose, like I've lost some rockets. Trust me, I've lost some rockets. This is something we used to do with the kids. We would build a rocket kit or find a kit at a garage sale and put it together and go out and spend a day launching. Getting back to the stakes, I had the Maxi Alpha 3, which is it's spectacular. I mean, you can see it. A lot of these rockets you can't see them. Maxi Alpha 3 is big enough where you can see it even when it's up. Just barely see it, and see the shoot deploy and see it come down. So I had chickened out and said I wasn't going to ride. It was too windy to ride all the way to the huge park. Pleasantdale had this huge area, multiple soccer fields. And instead I pulled off into the subdivision and set my stuff up. And I'm thinking, oh, I don't have those. I cut those stakes. So I go over there and I'm hitting this thing. And, of course, it's not going off. And I hit it. I'm holding it down. And this huge gust comes and knocks the rocket over. And right as it's about to come down and hit, it takes off. And shoots at a party. There's one house on the block that's having a party. It was this family named Malagusis. They were Italian. They were like really Italian family. And everyone at the party was their Italian relatives. They had gondolas. There was catered food. It was like a big deal, like maybe a wedding. I don't know. And here comes the Maxi Alpha 3 flying, incoming into their party. Rocket attack. And it hit these guys. They were all dressed in suits and they're all pulling pieces out, like looking around like they thought like somebody was trying to get them. So this rocket, it hits the house. It's a brick house, hits the house, jams the nose cone into the rocket, and it falls on the ground. And here the little bambino, the little boy, he had like a tux on, but he had taken his, so it was like a white shirt with like a little bow tie and a vest, black vest. He comes running up to the rocket, and I'm going, no! Because I'm aware that there's the time delay, then the ejection charge. And he picks the rocket up with the nose cone facing his belly, and smoke's pouring out of the end of it, and they're all laughing, ha ha ha, and then boom, the ejection charge goes off, and it blew the whole ass end, the motor carriage, the whole assembly came flying out the back end because the nose cone was wedged from into the body tube from impact with the building. And that little kid went flying back onto his butt, and then they were all like, ha, ha, ha. And I came over and like grabbed all my stuff and got on my BMX and rode out of there. So that was a short launch day. I had one launch. They didn't say anything to me. I thought I was dead. I thought literally I was going to end up on a meat hook at some deli in the back room of some butcher shop in Berwyn or Cicero. But yeah, nothing happened. But that, like when I say, oh, this is complicated, you have to read the safety rules. Don't make up your mind you're going to launch a rocket unless you've checked and you know that there's no wind. because the thing that's going to ruin it is wind. Just don't do it. Only launch. And I can't believe these guys, they do these meets where it's just like, I mean, I guess what it is where they do the meets is when you go to them, you'll see they're really in the middle of nowhere. Like they do them in places where it doesn't matter so much if there might be a little wind. Anyway, that was my old hobby of model rocketry. I really did love doing that stuff. My brother knew about it. He had attended some Boy Scout what's the Lutheran version of the Boy Scouts, Donna? Can you look that up? The Trailside Boys, or so my brother had maybe went to one of these things and found out about it and ended up with a catalog, and it didn't affect him like it affected me. Like I had a New Junior Encyclopedia of Space that was like my favorite book, and I knew who Werner von Braun was. He was my hero. Like I was drawing pictures of rockets and drawing launch pads. I wasn't so much into Star Wars and light swords. Like the idea of a lightsaber really, really bothered me. I really didn't think that was cool. I always thought the idea of using implementing a laser into a combustion engine utilizing mirrors, that was always the thing I would think about and draw pictures of that. But yeah, that was my thing, and what I really wanted to make was a tackle box, and it would have some type of a speaker and an oscillator, and it would produce different tones, like ascending tones, like 10 ascending tones, and then on the last one you would hit the ignition switch and the thing would launch. Not so much automated, but like 10 switches, it would be 10 different tones, and you would do each one as well as a warning for people to get away, it's going to launch. So that was the thing that I was always thinking about trying to build. And I had the Radio Shack 160 in 1 project kit, and I just never figured out how to do it. But that was the project that I lost sleep over, which was building a powerful a battery box that had a lot of power in it, like using a couple of sealed lead acid batteries and this oscillator with a siren speaker on it that would really loudly produce some ascending tone, and then it would launch the rocket. So that's my old hobby. I hope you found this video enjoyable. If you got any rocket stories or links to great rocket videos, there's a lot of cool content you can check out, including high-powered rocket meets, people that have shot video of it. So if that sounds like something you'd be interested in, you can check those out on YouTube. But I'd really encourage you to figure out how you could go and witness one yourself, because it's a great way to spend a summer day. That's something you'll never forget, is going to a rocket, even if it's a mid-grade. They have different, there's low power, medium power, high power. There's 3 different classifications. And if you can, the high-powered one is the one you want to go to. And mind you, when you're at the high-powered rocket launch, you're still going to see some low-powered rockets. And what you're going to see, you never know. These people they have a lot of character. They really do. Like I've got a bunch of footage that we shot. There's a kid, 15-year-old kid, walking around in a full Superman costume with a cape. Remember that guy?
Yeah, I was out here.
There was another old guy, this little guy, real short like Danny DeVito, and he had a floppy hat on. He was covered with radios, transmitters. He had a big battery pack on his rear end with a whip antenna shooting up into the sky. I think his nickname was Radar, that guy. But yeah, there's some really interesting people. We ran into these guys. They were like the two crazy hillbilly Rocket brothers, and they were gonna spend the night, overnight. They had all this beer, and they said that's when we break out the telescopes and look for UFOs. And they were all laughing and elbowing each other because they were gonna take shrooms. Is what they were gonna do. But those guys were hilarious. And they were telling me about all the unbelievable, illegal, super dangerous stuff that they do every time. Like, these other guys are like all with their O-rings and hydrogen and safety valves and stuff. And these guys are just like whipping up their own mixes and in the back of the pickup truck, you know. So that end of it, for me, was just way more priceless than just seeing the rockets go off, was meeting these people that are really into this shit. So check it out. I'd encourage you to get out there and meet some of these people. If not, enjoy the content. It's some good stuff. I'm going to leave it up to you to find it. But high-powered rocket launch would be a good keyword search to start. Anyway, this one was way too long. I hope you enjoyed it. Peace.